So how much do you think of that extra effort put in stems from you being a woman versus you being an immigrant?
That's a different story. So being a woman has its own challenge.
Hey guys, welcome to Keep It 99, Season 2, Episode 2, here with your host Isaiah, and we have a very special guest today, my mom. Would like to introduce yourself?
Sure. Hi, Isaiah. First, thank you so much for having me today. It's a pleasure to be in your podcast. My name is Wesam Boktor, and I am his mother, number one. And I am electrical engineering manager at UPS. I've been working for 20 years. So I have background with electrical engineering degree from back home, from Egypt. And I have some certificates here from the United States, specialized in what I do, automation, control. And I've been working for 20 years.
Yep, that's a good introduction. That's good. I like that. So you're an electrical engineer, and something that you like to talk about a lot is the struggle of being a woman in engineering. And it's something that we see as a society. Like, you see all these societies building a women in engineering, WIE. At Walton, there's a women engineering club. It's called the SWE. There's a lot of organizations and there's a lot of push for women engineering. Why is that? Why is there a big push nowadays for women in engineering?
Excellent question, Isaiah. So women is always underrepresented on the technical field when it comes to engineering. Back then, 20 years ago, or let's go back even further, when I was in college, I was one of 4 girls in the entire electrical engineering program. We had about 42 boys. And with workforce, it's the same. I recall we have only 2 females in the entire electrical engineering. So the woman in general is underrepresented on that field. And we realize that we need more female because female has unique skills. And can contribute a lot to the workforce and make a lot of success. So you will see now a lot of clubs and it's basically more awareness about women could be an engineer, could be an excellent engineer. So there's a lot of clubs, there is a lot of programs from the organizations, from the government, who encourage the woman to be represented more in the technical field. And again, by the end, women will help women to success and proceed. So that is why right now you see this big push in colleges and on companies and all over. So
where do you think this, where does this stem from? Like where does it come from that men dominate engineering? How did that become to be?
I think what happened in the old days, I think it's, so men and women think differently. I think there was a lot of fear when it comes to the technical field or maybe the job nature from the women. Also, maybe just the society did not encourage women to be in engineering a lot. It's just how it is. It's very men field. However, now we have... we are now more educated about women could be an engineer. So I think it's just nature of, all times and society, cultures, maybe in different countries. But overall, it's time to realize that women has a very unique skills and could be excellent engineers.
I mean, I agree 100%, but why do you think that, why now? Why is there a push now at instead of 10 years ago? Why is it, what's happening and what are the things in society that have ended up pushing for women in engineering? Do you think it's women overcoming that fear? Do you think it's just societies in general realizing that, women should diversify outside of what the traditional, in the 70s and 60s and 70s, the traditional mindset was? What do you think was the catalyst for this movement?
I think since more women in engineering field, it came from actually the women analyzing and seeing why not all women want to be an engineer, or why is a big pushback. And I know there's a lot of research done. I just attended actually 2 weeks ago a woman in engineering leadership in New Jersey, and they were talking about difference between how men think and how women think. So let's say there is an engineering job, has 10 requirements. The man, which an engineer, gonna look at it, and he has only one out of those 10. He said, "Oh yeah, I can do that. I will take this job, and go for it." The woman, when she look at the requirement, if she know all 9, but one of them she doesn't meet, she said, "Oh, I cannot do that." So women think differently than men. They have this fear. So when we now more educated and women start to see that they need more women in the field. Personally, me, I would like to have more female in the field, just more feel comfortable. So I think the diversity movement came from the women. Women needs more women in electrical engineering and any engineering. So I think more we are educated how we think, and we have a lot of resources right now, and the men actually too start to realizing that and encouraging that, which is great. So I think is more awareness happen in the past years and more research, and women needs more women. So I think they were pushing for that.
So when you were entering the workforce as an engineer in America, so when you were entering in America, Egypt's a different story, but like, what was it hard as a woman engineering? Like, how did you feel like it was harder for you than for male counterparts that are at the same level, in that, you know, we're around the same age? And like, what things can you point to that like would provide that it was harder, easier, whatever?
It was very hard. It was very hard being a female. I will recall many times, and I will say until now, I will be in a meeting with other company. I will be the only female in the room among 22 men. I just want to bring up a point, because we are very few female in the industry, so we consider minority of the industry, and it's always it's hard. Some of the men also mindset a little bit different. It was always known that if you are a female, there's a lot of question about your technical knowledge, your leadership knowledge. Is always for female, you have to work harder to prove that first. Now that's actually improving a lot. So 20 years ago, when I was working in my career, I faced a lot of challenge that I need to work harder than anybody else to prove myself, to prove my skills. Now, since this has already been done and known, everybody respect and understand, but it is hard for female in engineering field, because again, female consider minority in their field. There are few females compared to the male.
So how much do you think of that extra effort put in stems from you being a woman versus you being an immigrant?
That's a different story. So being a woman has its own challenge. Being immigrant, have an accent, adds to the adds to the whole pile way harder. So yes, being immigrant, have an accent, being young, because when I was in here, I was only 24 and a half, and I was sitting in this meeting with, you know, older people. So all factor together, it's make it very, very difficult. But I believe, again, just being a female, because I see it with other people who from America, being a female, you still need to work way harder than male to prove your, you know, skills, and prove your leadership skills and your communication, everything.
So like, something I noticed about you, obviously I'm your son, so a lot of this is kind of like it's obvious to me, but maybe not be obvious to other people. Like, you have this like kind of like fighting sense inside of you. You're always fighting. So I would like to ask, kind of delve into your story a little bit more. Like, where does that come from? Like, where does that fighting nature come from? Like, does it come from the fact that when you got to America, you had to like fight your way up, or was it something that happened when you were earlier? Like, where does that come from?
Thank you, Isaiah.
Listen,
I just wanted to make it nicer. It's not a fighting; it's a resisting nature. So excellent question, Isaiah. It's really it's a combination. So it's my personality, but so I came to America. Of course, it's hard to succeed to success here as an immigrant. So you're gonna have to be very persistent. You have to be a hard worker. You have to have a goal, and you have to work your goal. There's a lot of challenges in your way, emotionally, everything else. You're gonna have to be a good fighter to overcome all the challenges. So this is one aspect of the story. But again, being a female, you need to represent yourself that you have a goal at work too. You have always your goals. You have to work your goals toward them. You're gonna have to work extra hard. You don't let anything go. You need to be on top of things. So, and if something you don't like, you have to address it. So that's a strong personality nature. Being an engineer adds also to the story, to the whole thing, that by nature, engineers, I believe, a strong personality. It's a hard work and a fun work and a lot of communications, and you have to be on top of things. So it's the whole thing. Everything contributes to your personality, your environment, what you're going through. But being a fighter, it's a good thing. Being persistent and hard worker is a very good thing. I think that's the only way to reach your goals.
I agree 100%. And I think this, the apple doesn't fall far from the tree, like this fighter mentality. I obviously I have a little bit of it. Some people would say I have a lot of it. But it really does, like you say, your environment plays a large factor into it. And I think
Absolutely.
even though I'm not an immigrant, nor am I a woman, I do want to pursue engineering. And engineering, as you said, in general, is a very, maybe it's changing a little bit more now, but it's a very rigid, not rigid as in like
I wouldn't
there's
say
rules to
rigid.
follow. Rigid as in like it takes someone to, go through, because it's hard. For example, like in my class right now in engineering, it's hard to say an idea and hear what people think about it, and to sit through negative feedback, I think has such a great impact on you. I've noticed that in myself through this podcast and through school. Like when you're able to sit down and just listen and just let people, obviously in a respectful manner and everything,
It's a feedback.
It's give their constructive feedback, even if it's negative, and to sit there and be like, you know what, you're right. That takes, I think, a tougher person than someone who's just going to start, talking a lot and be like, no, you're wrong, and try to defend themselves.
Right.
So-
So I just want to add something, because the engineering field is, so as an engineer, you think through the problem, you do analysis, you have to do your risk assessment, you have to come up with solutions. And through all that, you have to be open to having a good, solid proof to your ideas. Because engineers need to be a very good persuasive. You will be sitting in a meeting, convince everybody with some ideas for the organization to go through. And you have to respect every feedback. And sometimes you're wrong. Yeah, that's okay. Sometimes you're right. It's okay. But I think at least being comfortable to present your ideas and try to persuade people with your ideas and why, that's an excellent practice. And always I say, be comfortable with not being comfortable.
So how do you think that, how has engineering grown you as an individual? Obviously, I mean, you were 24 when you started. Won't say what you are now, but if you can do the math. Obviously, so you've grown up, that's one thing. But how has engineering changed you as a person from when you were in college until now?
Oh, absolutely. So work in general, work environment will add a lot to your personality. And every hard situation you go through, you're going to have to learn a lot, and you see how I'm going to do better next one. So in general, not just being an engineer as a workforce teach you a lot, but being an engineer, being on sometime in the field, you have an issue, you need to come up with a solution right now, or you are in a support call and something is down in Europe and you wanted to make it up and running, or you're dealing with contractors in the field, or project not going through the schedule, and you're gonna have to be always very agile and change plans on the fly and make sure they are going right. That skills you're gonna learn throughout your situation. I've been growing a lot, personal skills, professional skills, and technical skills, absolutely. Even being a manager right now, manage a big staff, I'm still required to be up to date with the technology, especially in my field as an automation engineer, engineering field. So of course I've been growing a lot. I mean, I completely. I got a lot of feedback, and this is the only way you're gonna, change yourself. Ask for people to give you constructive feedback. People who you trust as a work or in your work environment give you constructive feedback, and you have to work on it. Don't be upset. Don't be sad. Just listen to it carefully and come up with a plan how you change that and how you become better. And I did that personally. I got some constructive feedback for stuff I need to enhance, and I did. And it's you feel very successful, and people really wow, she really did it. So you're gonna be always learning, and I changed a lot, of course. And it's a great experience, but very important to seek constructive feedback.
So obviously you've grown a lot throughout your field, and not only have you grown in your field, you've grown personally. And when you started, you weren't married and you didn't have kids, and now you have.
Well, I was just got married, but did not have
sorry.
kids.
You didn't have kids. Now you have, a 17-year-old boy and you have a 15-year-old girl.
Yes.
How much do you think that being a mother has, how much do you think that has helped in your management skills? And if it does, I'm just asking.
Patient.
Thanks, Mom. Appreciate that one.
Well, I have to say one thing. Being a mother by itself, it teaches you a skills of managing different tasks in the same time and how to deal with it. Being a mother without even an engineer, it's a skill.
Yeah.
Being a good mother and raising good children, it's require a good effort. It's not easy.
I just want to hold you right there. I want to ask you a simple question.
Sure.
Did you raise good children?
Oh, I feel I did excellent to my knowledge, but I have excellent kids. God bless them. Hope you continue like that. So being a mother is a hard task. Teach you a lot, and of course, reflect in your work. In my opinion, women are good communicators and very good management when it comes to task, and is a very good calibrator among people. And I think this comes just from the nature of the woman. But of course, it does help me to manage multitask and be patient and listen.
Yeah. Okay. Obviously, I know the answer to this next question. I'm going to ask it anyways. How much has being a mother hindered your career progress? Just be honest. You can be honest. It's fine.
I will talk about my own experience.
Yeah, your experience. Yeah.
So when you guys got born, I was in the beginning of my career, and my husband was traveling on the road. My own career required a lot of traveling back then. That's why I did not have kids in the first 2 years of my after my marriage, because of my career. I was traveling all the time. And being me in the road, traveling all over the places, international and domestic, it was hard to have kids, but I want to have kids. So I did have Isaiah, and it was a challenge, and had Ivana, and I tried all means. I had a nanny, I did a daycare, and it was very tough. My mom helped a lot as well. But my company I was very grateful to my companies that agreed to me to work part-time temporarily.
Temporarily.
Yeah, for some years. That was awesome. I was planning to quit, but didn't want me to quit, and they was very supportive to me, and I really appreciate my company. So I was able to work part-time, which was 4 days a week, but I did travel, but only to Canada, here and there, not long travel, just to keep my career going. And when I was ready to come back, I came back with a nice promotion. So that was my experience. I was very thankful to have this opportunity from my company. Now, I know that these days a lot of company became more aware about that. They have some flexible programs. So it was very good experience for me.
You still didn't answer the question, by the way.
I did.
You didn't really answer it.
But I have to say one thing. I talked about my own experience, which was a challenge. But not everybody have the same challenge I have. Some women have their spouses stay home, which I know that, and that helps them a lot. Some people have a family who is there all the time, help a lot. My mom used to come back and forth between Egypt and here, so it was not permanent. So everybody's situation is different. By the end, I think it's a challenge being a mother, having kids, and try to pursue your career. Now, again, some people, some female, they don't want to go through the management or through the corporate ladder, so that's perfectly fine. They could manage that. It's just different from a person to person. Nowadays, different. But from my own experience, of course, was a challenge, and I hope more flexible program will become now. I know now some companies work from home partially. Back then, we have to be at the office 5 days a week. We cannot work from home. So those program now is more popular. So it's people more aware about the challenges between a woman having kids and being in the work environment as an engineer. So I think it's much better now than the old days. Does that answer the question?
Good enough. We'll move on.
Okay.
Just to lighten up the conversation a little bit, what is your favorite thing you've done at your time at UPS?
I mean,
because you've done a lot of cool things. You went to England one time to open a building. You've been to Canada a few times. I don't know where else you've been. I'm not gonna lie.
I mean,
everywhere in
the
America,
States,
obviously.
yes.
So, like, what do you think is the coolest thing you've worked on
I
that
think,
you can say?
Well, I did work in various projects. I did different tasks in UPS, two different type of projects. My cool thing was innovation, seeing new automated equipment. That was really cool. I did work on that, testing that, work with the R&D group as well. But I love what I do. That's is one of the big reasons I'm still working. I love it. I love when I travel, I meet new people. I love really communicating with people in our organization. You learn a lot, technically and personally. I like myself. I like training and coaching. So I like my team. I like to teach them, coach them from all aspects, leadership aspects, technical aspects. I always did something very cool in the summer. So I did leadership for internship for the people who come take internship during the summer. I coach them. We had some sessions. So I always like coaching and teaching young engineers in the field. I enjoy, traveling and see other people, different places, cool equipment, new technology, and how integrated in our UPS facilities.
Yeah, if I'm not mistaken, your original career choice in Egypt was to go back and be a professor.
Right.
Is that correct? Yeah.
Correct.
Obviously, that all changed when you came to America, but
well,
so
yeah.
you've always had a passion for teaching. That's apparent, obviously,
True.
in church and all your services and stuff like that.
True.
So, why? This is kind of like a personal question, like for you, but like, why do you like teaching so much?
I like helping a lot. So I used to be very smart in my college, and I had, I don't know if you the grades is more than an A, and it was one of the top honors in my classes. And I know that in the math, so we have a lot of math classes. My program was 5 years program and was very intense. I do have a bunch of friends in the mechanical engineering, and they did a couple of math classes which I took a year before, and they were struggling big time. And I used to sit with them to explain the entire math. I love math. I'm very good in math. And I used to teach. I enjoy teaching, and I enjoy training, and my passion, I believe. I really enjoy that.
Would you ever consider going back and teaching? Like going and getting a master's PhD and going and teaching in the States?
I don't think so. I don't think I will pursue that right now. Right now, I really enjoy management positions. I love being a manager too. I like project management, so I'm working my EBMO. I don't know. I don't think I will go back to do a PhD. I don't think so. I think I'm getting old at this point. I'm not old, just getting old with that, I guess.
Yeah, sure.
Thank you, Isaiah.
Hey, I didn't say how old you were. We agreed on that before. I didn't say anything.
Okay.
No, but obviously teaching is something that for a lot of people out there, especially women that want to pursue engineering is a very, very intriguing position. You know, it pays well. It's people can do, you can do research. Something I know you love doing is research, R&D. Like, and honestly, like especially research in an engineering field, it's almost as if you're working, because when you work as an engineer, you do a lot of R&D,
Research, right.
a lot of it. About half. It's like half your department is
Yeah, because always,
exactly,
yeah,
'cause you're always
you
developing and
implementing
moving.
new technology and you want to really search it and make sure it will fit the operation and what the downside and do through the testing and, so it's, yeah, true.
So teaching is obviously a very good pathway, and so is, the corporate ladder. And there's also something you never worked in, but small scale startup companies, which is nowadays such an intriguing and such a big. There's a big boom in that, and obviously, I mean, you haven't worked in that, so you don't really know. So I'm going to ask you about the corporate world. What are your opinions on like the structure of the corporate world?
So, specifically, if you work in the corporate office, it's it's a skill.
Expand.
It's a skill. Working in a corporate office, like you can work in the same company, but in the region office or the district or in the field. But working in a corporate office is a skill and teach you a lot because you interact with upper management. They know you by face. They know back to back other people in the field. Maybe they don't never met them or they see them here and there when they go visit, but you see them on daily basis. You interact with them on daily basis. So it teaches you how to promote your image. And when I say your image is the way you talk, your emails, the way you communicate, the way you present presentations in front of them, when you see them. It's forced you to promote your image because your exposure is big. You get exposed a lot to the upper management when you are in corporate office. So it teaches you, it's in my opinion, I'm being lucky. I worked 20 years in the corporate office. It taught me a lot, and corporate environment need a different set of skills. You need to know how to talk, represent yourself. So it's tough to work in corporate office, but I think it's a great skills in your early career to be in corporate office.
Man, you're really dodging my questions today. You don't want to answer my questions.
I
Okay.
do.
Fair enough. So I'm going to probe a little bit more. I'm going to try to get some answers out of you. So some things. Okay. In the corporate world, right? It's a lot of people say it's like, it's. Have you watched Wolf of Wall Street?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Wow, I haven't watched that. Okay. Well, basically, like people think of it like that. Like it's just everyone just going at each other. Everyone wants the upper hand. Like, do you believe that's what corporate America is like, or no?
Well, it's not exactly like that. Let me explain it. It's competition, and competition is hard. But this is everywhere. When you are in a small company, okay, how many people you are competing with? You're competing with what, 10 engineers, 15 engineers? But when you are in corporate, has branches all over the world, you're competing against millions of engineers. Competition becomes harder, and that will make you enhance your skills even faster and harder and more. You competing with people, oh my gosh, I mean, so it's not everybody getting, but everybody is try to enhance themselves and do their best very quickly and be better and better and better so quickly so they can be up to the competition. That's how corporate life is.
And do you think that faster, better, do you think that leads to problems within like individuals within themselves, like kind of like mental problems, like, oh, I'm not good enough? Like, do you think that leads to that, or do you think that's kind of just those are like two separate things?
I don't think. I don't think so. I mean, but again, everybody's different. Every personality is different. Again, corporate is not for everybody, but it make you tough. Being a fighter, again, bring to the first point. Being a fighter, want to enhance yourself. You should be able to do it, and I think it's a good skill. I mean, faster and better, and it's all what is nowadays. Everything is going, you know.
Do you think the facade that you put, you know what facade means? Okay. You think the facade that you put on in the corporate world, do you think that that's detrimental? Like, is it better for you just to be yourself in the corporate world and not care what people think? Or should you put that facade on of professional, like this, and then just have to switch back and on and on and off, on and off? Or would you rather just,
I
like,
will
what do you
not.
think is better?
I will not agree to switch back. I will agree be yourself, but being yourself, I mean, it's not a bad thing. You have to be yourself. Do not put a face, or you have to be yourself. But it's you have to enhance yourself too. If you think there's something does not match, is this is something you need to enhance, or is this something is not corporate life is not meant for you? You cannot cope up with it. You cannot compete with it. You have to be yourself. You have to be yourself. Because you're not gonna sustain that for too long if you are not being yourself. You need to be yourself. You need to up to what you believe, but you need to enhance your skills. You need to enhance yourself too. You have to get the constructive feedback, and you have to look up about yourself, and you have to always have a goal for your personal skills, for your academic skills, your professional skills. You always have a goal. When you meet your goal, you're not done. There's a higher goal. You have to go up to it.
So talking about like skills and feedback and all that. Obviously, schooling has a big impact on your ability on so many things. I mean, it's you can't name them all. Do you think, now that you're in a manager position and you hire people, do you think that college actually prepares you for the workforce?
I have been so of course I do interviews because I hire engineers in my group. I see some prepares them, some is not. But let's just I will explain to you what I'm looking for in the interview. So, graduate from college, I'm not expecting from day one you know what you're doing.
Do you feel
But
like the education system should change that? They should be able to know what they're doing on day one?
I was expecting from some colleges. I was expecting better than what I saw. To be honest with you, I don't think academically the college prepare you well to work. But what's more important is you are teachable. You have the skills to grow and learn fast and be innovative in a short time, and you have a leadership skills. So if I saw you have those skills, leadership skills, you're smart, you can learn, you're teachable, you have self-discipline, you go by yourself and you're self-motivated, you're self-teaching, you self-starter. That's what we are looking for as a workforce. I'm not expecting you from day one come to program PLC programming and automation design and know what you're doing. I don't think so. Which is okay.
So there's something I saw last night on YouTube, and it's this guy named Jordan Peterson. He's a big researcher, and he titles himself a logical debater, right? He debates purely on logic. And it's something he said about why we attribute some colleges to higher level standards. And this is even true for high schools, where the actual education you get at any one of these given schools is almost exactly, for the same degree of it, like the same program, whatever, is almost identical. What's the difference? For example, why are Harvard graduates smarter than, I don't know, just whatever, any random like liberal arts school in the middle of nowhere? Why? Because the people who get in are already smarter. It's not because they learn more. It's because they
think the way of teaching or the project or the hands-on or the way they train their mind?
No, because it's because like if you have to, in order to get into the school, if you have to be a certain level,
right,
you're going to come out at a certain level.
Right.
Whereas if you're at a lower level, so it's not actually about the education of the schools. It's about, which is crazy because it's not like college in the end doesn't even matter. It's about like high school. Like how did you get there? Right? It's about what happened at the beginning, happened when you're applying. It's not about, your 4 years there.
But as a statement about every program is identical in every college, I will
Well, it's
disagree
not
with
okay.
that.
Not purely. Not
Okay.
purely. It's
All right.
there's some that are obviously different. There's obviously you have certain programs that are literally different. You have literally like
I mean, like I will
double.
say, for example, electrical engineering, when I look at the classes, we have some people who are like entry level specialists or who study for college to be electrical engineers. They will come show me the classes, and it's different from college to college. It's way different. I was sometimes wonder, is this electrical engineering degree by the end? I don't know, but I'm sorry. My college was 5 years degree, 5 years electrical engineering pure, and was full with classes for electrical engineering.
What was your
so.
favorite class? Favorite class, least favorite class, and hardest class.
The hardest class was electromagnetic field 3.
Class number
That's
3.
the hardest class, number 3. So you have to take 1 and 2 and 3. Electromagnetic theory 1 and 2 and 3. Number 3 was really hard. My easiest class and my favorite classes was electrical circuits series 1, 2, and 3, and all math classes, thermodynamic. I had to take thermodynamic. I love it.
Thermo's another math class.
Yeah, but all the math class or differentiation classes and all the calcs, and I love that, and I
Least
mastered
favorite.
that.
That's not.
Least
that's not the
favorite is
hardest one.
electromagnetic. Well, my least favorite is the one. the hardest one.
So obviously you had a completely different degree program that some people would argue is a PhD level program. Each was very just information.
A lot of classes. Yes.
Do you think that degree prepares you at all for the workforce in America?
I do. Well, I was one of the top honors, so I had my GPA was equivalent to here 4.2.
Thank you for flexing.
And I just graduated, and I was preparing actually my master's degree in Egypt because I got hired by the college to be a professor for 6 months. But so the information was just fresh, and I did my evaluation here and everything. I think it did, especially in the old days in my company. We used to design by ourselves on the AutoCAD. So everything makes sense. Of course, was not 100%. I know what I was doing, but big part said, "Oh yeah, I know that. I know how to do that." Part of it, but of course, I learned a lot in my career. Especially my company is a very unique operation. So
what we've concluded is that Egyptian education is.
It's good. I wish it's more hands-on, like America here, but it's a very theoretical. And if you understand it and if you did so well on it, it's a very good program.
It's good. Good. Any final thoughts about women in engineering?
I encourage all women to pursue engineering. It's fun. It's you work with cool stuff. I think don't ever be fear. It's not hard, and always do not underestimate your skills. Women in engineering is needed.
That's all for this episode of Keep It 99. If you liked it, make sure to like, comment, subscribe, and share it with people you feel like would benefit. That's all. Thank you.
Thank you, Isaiah.